Now, I don't know why I haven't tied this pattern for the channel yet. This is pretty much my all-time favorite streamer. And how does the fly pattern become our favorite? Well, probably because we've caught the most fish with it. Hello everybody, welcome to Savage Flies. My name is Matt, thank you for stopping by. So this pattern I'm talking about today is the Blacknose Dace. It was created by Art Flick in his 1947 book, Streamside Guide to Naturals and Their Imitations. And you can still find a first edition copy of this book, probably on eBay or some of the auction sites, for about $75. Or you can pick up the 2007 version for about $15 on Amazon. Or you can do what I did and pick up the 1969 paperback version for $5 or $10. Now, while this book is not really exciting reading, it is really one of the best books out there for streamside entomology. Some of the legends like Dave Hughes, talk very highly of this and say it was very influential in their own fishing and writing. So about this pattern, it's a bucktail, but 3 different colors of hair in it. And when Flick originally tied it, the white is the first tuft. He used polar bear, but we don't really have much polar bear today, so most people use white bucktail, and that was the substitute that Flick recommended as well. And the second tuft of hair was black, and Flick recommended a bear or a skunk for that, which that's what I'm going to use today, but if you don't have that, use any black coarse hair you've got. And then the topping was just a tan or natural bucktail. So it's not a hard pattern to tie, and again, pretty much my favorite of all time. I think you're going to like it. Let's give it a shot. So there it is, in the vise, the Blacknose Dace, Art Flick's amazing streamer. Now, this is commonly tied on, well, the recipe says a 4X to 6X long streamer hook. And the size, kind of up to you, but whatever you think the dace are in your water. So a 6 or 8 is probably a good choice. You could probably go down to a 10, maybe up to a 4. I'm tying this on a 6. This is size 6, 4X long. I'm going to put a base down to the start of the bend. Now we do have a little bit of a tail on this guy. Red yarn. You can use wool, you can use synthetic, whatever you got. It's just going to be a small little tuft of it. And this is a 4-strand yarn, so what I'll do, I'll spin it and then use half of them, maybe 2 strands. Okay, so here's 2 of the strands, and I'm going to catch it in, not by much of it. It doesn't need to be held in all that tight. There's never going to be anything pulling too much on this. And I want it pretty thin because I don't want to create a lump right here. So I'm trying to keep it flat. And take your thread back on up to the front where we're going to catch in the rib. If you remember, you want to tie the materials in the reverse order that you're going to use them. So we're going to tie in our rib and then the tinsel, and then we'll wrap the tinsel and wrap the rib. So what I do on this and why I catch this in at the front is if you caught it in at the back, you're going to create a lump and it's going to show on that tinsel. So wherever you catch it in, and this doesn't really matter, it can be on the top, it can be on the near side, just try to keep it parallel to the hook all the way back. So take your time and then just keep this parallel so it doesn't start spinning around on you. Okay, so were we successful? Yeah, for the most part, it's pretty straight right there. Now the next component is going to be our tinsel. And this is where I differ from Art Flick's original, and I've done this for my Blacknose Dace for years. I use a holographic tinsel, and it's mostly silver, but it's got a little bit of this cool rainbow to it. So just catch this in right back here. And why I like this sometimes over the Mylar tinsel, it's a plastic, it's not, it's easy to wrap, and it doesn't create too much of a lump. So take your thread back on up to the front, and what I used to do, I'd put a drop of head cement right along the top, but these things never fell apart on me when I didn't do that, so I've stopped doing that. So just take this, wrap it up, slightly overlapping each turn, all the way up to the front. Okay, when you get it up to the front, 2 tight thread wraps to lock that in, and I might fold it back over and then put a wrap or 2 to just really lock it in. Now it's not going to go anywhere on you. And that body's pretty smooth enough. Let's wrap this rib. And I'll put the first wrap right back here where it's tied in. And then open spiral wraps, your preference, how close you want to have them together. But I think on this size hook, 5 or 6 wraps will be sufficient. Two or three thread wraps to lock this in up here. Now let's snip this off. Before I tie in the wing, let's go ahead and take care of this tail. So what I'll do here, whether it's wool or acrylic, I'll just take my brush, take your bodkin or brush, whatever you want, and then just try to fluff it out. This is longer than we're going to want it, but we'll take care of that in just a second. Okay, now just pull it back and snip it short. Really only want a little tuft. Just a small hint of red back there, and that's perfect, just how I want it. So let's do the wing now. And this is 3 clumps of bucktail, or per the original, white bucktail, black skunk or bear, and then brown bucktail. If you don't have skunk or bear, use whatever you want in the middle, but you do kind of really want this black. So I will take my first clump, and I'm going to take about twice as much as I need, because I'm going to have to thin it out. I'm not putting this in the hair stacker. What I'll do, I will just grab it close to the tips right here, and then pull some of the shorter hairs out. So I've thinned it probably by about half. And if you've got any really long ones, you can just pull them out by hand. Any wonky looking fibers right there. Okay, I think this is going to work. And the white is going to be longer than the rest, so maybe just a little bit past the bend of the hook. So let's tie this in right there. I'm going to have to back that thread up just a little bit because we do end up with a big head on this guy, just because we're using 3 clumps of hair. So let's catch it in right there with a pinch wrap. Let's do 2 pinch wraps, and then I'm going to have to put a wrap under it because it'll spin around on you if you're not careful. Okay, so that is coming off the top, but it's not really affixed up there very tightly. So I'm going to lift it up, and I'm going to put 1 wrap right up under that, wedge it up in there pretty good, back over the top, and then under it again. So be careful, you'll spin it on you, and that's what we were trying to avoid. But this one, I'm going under it, so now I will end up with 1 wrap that is just around the bucktail. And it's getting a little wonky right here, but we're going to fix that. So you see that, let's put a couple of tight wraps right now. And now take a look at what we have. It's not spinning around on that side, and it's not spinning around on that side. So our white is looking pretty good. Might be a little bit longer than I want, but that's okay. We make it consecutively, each piece a little bit shorter. So the black after the white is going to be a little shorter than the white, and then the brown is going to be a little bit shorter than the black. Okay, so I've cut that off at an angle. I can just try to, smooth this out a little bit, but you'll want your thread right back here at the back before we catch in this next piece, which is going to be the black. And this is bare, so I didn't have any black bucktail. So I'm going to thin this out. This is way too much. The black is probably the one that you have the least amount on, because it just doesn't take that much black to imitate the lateral line of this minnow, this little dace. So that's going to be enough right there, and again, just a little bit shorter than the white. So let's catch this in. And I'll be careful on this one because I can't really do that same trick on the black that I did with the white, because now we can't really put a wrap under it. So I think we're fine right there. Let's go ahead and put a couple more tight wraps to secure this. And let's snip this one off. And be a little careful because this one is starting to spin on my side right here. So before I put any really tight wraps, I'm going to just make sure I've got it positioned, hold it tight, and then put a few more tight wraps right here. Now I think that black is going to be just fine. Now we got one more bit of bucktail, and this one is the brown. It's natural. I'm doing the same thing I did with the white. I'm gonna grab it by the tips and then just thin it out. And you gotta be careful with a bucktail like this, because you will get too much hair on here if you're not careful, not paying too much attention. So I think that we should be able to get away with that much right there. Again, just a little bit shorter than the black. Let's see if we can get this one caught on right here. Let's do a pinch wrap right there. I haven't let go of it with my material hand while I'm getting some tighter wraps in. And let's just see if we're good. Okay, hasn't spun around too much on me, but it's pushing a little bit down. I think that's gonna be fine. So I'm gonna take a few tighter wraps going up right here. And then I'm gonna do the same thing, try to trim this at an angle right here so that I can build my head. And these are gonna have a big head. There's not much you can do to avoid that, but that's okay. Some people even paint eyes on them. I never have, it's just one step extra I don't think is necessary, but I will put a big drop of head cement or resin on it, because I do kind of like that big shiny head. So let's go ahead and whip finish this one. 4 or 5 turns will be fine here. And grab our handy dispenser for UV resin. And I'm just going to put a pretty big dollop on it right here. And then spin it around. You might want to take your bodkin and even it out so you don't have too big of a lump right here. And if you've got a rotary where you can spin it fast, doing that right there will help it too. So put the UV torch on it, 10 or 15 seconds. And Art Flick's Blacknose Dace is done. Pretty simple pattern, very effective. One of my all-time favorite streamers. So that's it, everybody. I appreciate you watching. Y'all take care. We'll see you next time.